May the 25th, 2020. Guys, I hope everyone out there's had a very good Memorial Day. Safe travel, got to see your kids and grandkids or relatives and friends like I did today. We spent a day out on the backside in a pond with a bunch of grandkids and kids, and it was an excellent day. We're in central Mississippi. And what we've been noticing the last few days, guys, is if you're in Louisiana or Mississippi, Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, is this south wind, guys. I know all of you know what I'm talking about. It's been pretty cool. You get a couple of sprinkles here and there and all, but it got rather hot today. We were close to 98 with the heat index and 90% humidity. And what I've noticed in the last couple of days, we've seen the tornadoes come up through Texas, up through the Midwest and everything. But Florida down here in the section of around, really from the central part of Florida south, just been kind of a constant flow of moisture. And you see the radars and all, guys. What's happening is last year, I mentioned this in one of the last tropical weather updates this season, was last year we watched a system form up in, really it was in Missouri, came through Tennessee and down through the northern tip of Alabama through Georgia into the Gulf of Mexico, and then wreaked havoc up through Baton Rouge. And it was one of the first ones, and guys, I'm almost as old as Methuselah, so I've seen a lot of hurricanes. But last year when we saw these land-forming low-pressure systems that the National Hurricane Center started noticing while they were still on land, very unusual. Then we're seeing it now, and again, South Florida, kind of getting under the gun on this, and I want to go to the National Hurricane Center as we look at it. And this is your 2-day graphical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and sitting right here, kind of not quite exactly Central Florida, but very close. You've got a 20% chance of cyclone formation within 48 hours. Now, this one's going to pull offshore into the Atlantic over the Gulf Stream. It says as of 5:20 this afternoon, which would be 45 minutes ago. Widespread showers and thunderstorms extending across Florida, the Bahamas, and the adjacent Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico waters are associated with an elongated surface trough interacting with an upper-level disturbance, although a weak surface low could form along the surface trough just off the east coast of Florida and move northward toward Georgia, South Carolina on Tuesday and Wednesday. The low is not expected to become a tropical cyclone due to the strong upper-level winds. And you can see that in the radar and in the satellite images, that wind shear. Regardless of development, heavy rainfall could cause flash flooding over portions of southern central Florida tonight, spreading northward to coastal sections of northeastern Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas on Tuesday and Wednesday. Got friends up there that's got boats. Gusty winds could also produce rough marine conditions and life-threatening surf and rip currents along the coast of eastern Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas through Wednesday. So as in the last storm that we talked about, guys, don't let your kids and don't get into the rip currents, although we're kind of in the holiday season. People drown every year from not paying attention to these. A lot of times the people that drown are not from the coastal areas because they grew up understanding people coming to enjoy the day at the beach. And someone gets drowned or almost drowned, you lose lives. So don't let that happen. Also, we're 5 days out from the beginning of hurricane season, June 1st. So the tropics are heating up. Let's just pay attention to it. Remember, we've got the system here, but what's been happening in Texas, in Oklahoma, and north of that for the last few days is tornadoes popping up. So we're kind of going to have a conflict of systems. And it's already wet in some areas. If it stays offshore, the further offshore, the better it will be. We've had dams burst in Michigan. And you got moisture all around. It's springtime, I realize that. But guys, just pay attention to this. We're going to see how it reacts. In every hurricane or tropical system we've ever tracked, each day it changed, right? And so this thing is going to move offshore and get into some warmer waters as it crosses the Gulf Stream. Luckily, we got some wind shear, and we'll take another look at that. Now, this is an excellent satellite image of the East Coast, all the way from the southern tip of Florida all the way up. And what you're seeing from the right is the sun is starting to set here on the East Coast. It is 6:19 p.m. now, Central Time. And the system that they're watching is right there around Lake Okeechobee. But this wind shear is what they're saying that you're seeing pushing out into the Atlantic is going to slow this thing down or keep it from developing. But the entire Atlantic, the Caribbean, and even into the Gulf of Mexico is starting to set up with these small, low-pressure areas. So we're going to have to watch it. I think I talked about it in one of the videos a week or so ago. It looks like we're going to have a strong start to hurricane season this year. And I've looked at some of the models from AccuWeather, National Hurricane Center, Weather Channel, different people, and most of them agree it's going to be a stronger than normal. But we're in grand solar minimum, and with our weak shields, the sun itself can throw us not into climate warming, but climate chaos. And that's what we're starting to see, guys. Just pay attention to it. And for my friends along the East Coast, notice you've already got some low pressure forming right there that's going to add somewhat additional moisture. But we're watching it, guys. Let me say this before I forget. I did a video a couple days ago about some tornadoes, and I mentioned problems out in the Atlantic. We were talking about Venezuela and that area and ships coming in. Not a lot of people paid attention to that, but some of you did. But those ships made it. And so there's a lot of tension there. Pay attention, guys. It's just a heads up. Be safe.